Here we are one more time. I lied last time. Here's the wrap-up of the wrap-up. A video to follow video 1 that takes us through the rest of the practice quiz assessment. And as I said before, we didn't get around to talking about compound meter, but one of these rhythms is compound meter. And remember, the nature of compound versus simple is that the beat is divided into 3 instead of 2. So plenty of tunes have that triplet feel kind of thing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the hallmark of the way it looks is that the beaming group is 3 under each beam instead of 2 or 4 under each beam. So it's an odd number, but that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So, you know, like take me out to the ball game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, take me out to the ball game, over the river and through the woods. These are typical compound meter tunes where it's 6/8 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's really 2 beats per bar, and each beat is divided into 3. But again, you can tell which one is the one here that's in compound because what? Its beaming group is not in groups of 2 or 4 naturally. It's in groups of 3. But I'm not really worried about this on this test since we didn't spend any time doing any lecturing or having to do any work on it. So, but what we are after here is naming the time signature when you see these kinds of things. If you see the equivalent of, let's admit here, 4 quarter notes, you know that you have 4/4 as a possible time signature, right? But you also know that you could have the equivalent of 2 half notes too, and for that matter 8/8 notes. The idea between these two is that we feel a rhythmic property of 4 that's demonstrated in the beaming groups, where we see 4 individual beats. In this one, where we see 8th notes that are grouped in such a way that they preserve 2 half notes, you'll see more of this. So not to give it away, but here's, you know, not that you wouldn't see this in 4/4, but if you only see, and the feel is 1 and a 2, 1 and 2, like this. Not that this couldn't be 4/4 as well, but the best answer here is probably 2/2. I'm going to give full credit for either one of these if they equate to 4 quarters or 2 half notes, right? 2/4 is a different story. That's going to mathematically be a different number of beats, right? So good luck with that as you see these time signatures like this. And then at the bottom of the page it says, what about adding a single note to complete the following rhythms? And in 3/4, if you've got 1.5 beats and a half beat, that means you've got 2. You need a note, a single note that is just 1 beat. In that case, we're talking about a quarter note in that case. I'll let you go there. I think we had plenty of this kind of work in the worksheets. And we would have, gosh, with only 4 minutes elapsed. One more page to get through with our rhythmic assessment here. Clear off this page and go to the next. It is the last page. And this is a couple of things that are a little bit different than we've seen here. No, we didn't talk about pitch collections and what they make for so much, or relationships between pitches like intervals or combinations of pitches such as chords, and certainly pitch sets that are what make for scales. But I just left the chromatic scale on here from incarnations of the course previous, and I figured this would be simple enough to ask you to look at. If you look at chapter 6, just the first 2 pages, and I've even put these pages into the content area of Blackboard against my publisher's wishes, I'm sure. We see that they talk about scale being an ordered collection of pitches. The primary pitches of a piece are written in ascending order without repetitions. They form a scale. Each note in the scale is separated by the next from a whole or a half step. Well, that's true for major and minor scales, which is what they're starting to talk about in Chapter 6. So you and I have heard them all before, but if you're talking from a C to another C, that's your major scale, and you get a whole step between 1 and 2, and a whole step between 2 and 3, and then the distinctive half step between 3 and 4, and another whole, and then a very distinctive half step that ends this thing up. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Makes for major, and if I lower 3, 6, and 7, I get do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I get a little different whole and half pattern, but I get the sound of minor instead of what was major. Makes what? Almost 100% of the Western world's musical world go round. Major and minor key things, with some alterations, thank goodness, some of the time. Good to point out, this is a 12 half step per octave pitch world that is every instrument you find in a music store basically sold to accommodate. It's a Western world reflection of the acoustics of musical sound itself, and it's not lying. Our ears gravitate toward this, and other cultures besides the Western culture have gravitated toward it too, at the peril of other cultures' musical tunings that are other than 12 half steps per octave. So think about this. There's this polychromatic music, polytonal music, that has tunings of pitches that are less than a half step or other increments besides halves and whole steps that are out there. I encourage you to listen to them and see what you think of them. They're becoming, the pitch world is changing in this 21st century, and it's interesting. It's borrowing from other cultures, and we're inventing some new things through digital signal processing and electronic music. It's very exciting. But that half-step collection, that's not just a combination of whole and halves, is called a chromatic scale. So just the end of the second page is all you have to worry about when you're thinking about how to spell chromatic scales. Reading from the text, scales in which all pitches are equally spaced by a half step apart are called chromatic scales, and in this example, a complete chromatic scale is shown here on E flat. It's not a very typically spelled one. They tell us here that when a first pitch of a chromatic scale is a flat, it's customary to spell chromatic scales with sharps ascending and flats descending. At this one, they use flats and naturals only. I like the idea that, for our purposes, that the chromatic scale that ascends uses all white keys plus sharps, and the chromatic scale that descends uses all white keys plus flats. The sense that you're flatting some notes to go down to the next one. That's just a musical tendency we see in chromatic scales as well. So this D chromatic scale, let's play that once. D, and then the black key right above it would be D sharp. Then the key above that would be E, of course. And then you don't need E sharp here, you just need F. Okay, you're making us aware that that there is no black key above E. So F would be the next thing, and then above F is F sharp, above that is your next white key G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, and D. I can't play a point at the same time, but you knew where I was going with that. And then as you come down, right, D, and then the black key below D, D flat now, C. Is there a black key below C? No, we can use just B. Do you ever refer to this note as C flat? Yeah, you do sometimes. We don't need it for this purpose though. Just the chromatic scale. No respelled white keys and no double flats, double sharps. Just use white keys, and then The black keys as you come down are going to be flatted versions of the white key you just left. So below B is B flat, A flat, G flat, F. It's a scale that is used more for effect a lot of the time, but it shows you how, in addition to C major, there's 5 other pitches that you could use at times, right? So take the Star Spangled Banner. It uses all white key notes because that's what C major uses, except for it uses an F sharp right there, right? Until it goes on, it's mostly stays in the key. Where would you be without certain notes that went outside the key to give you a refreshing taste of that? So from this C up to that C, go ahead and give me a chromatic scale that ascends for an octave, and then from this C, now bass clef's really the same, middle C, down to a C below that, give me a chromatic scale that descends. What would that look like? I think we can show you a little of that. What's a half step above a C? It's going to be, in this case, the black key above C. Call it, as you go up, C sharp. And then what's a half step above C sharp? It's a white key. That would be that one, right, the D. So although you could call it C double sharp, why not just call it D for right now? That's what it is most commonly. And you have D sharp, and then you have E, and F, that kind of thing. So good luck with that. Write the whole or half steps as requested above each of the following notes, and for any half step give both the chromatic and the diatonic solutions. And I'll say it this way because I have the opportunity to now, and that is that chromatic is the same letter name. So sometimes I say constant. I can't come up with a better word that makes the alliteration happen here. And that diatonic is the next letter name. And I sometimes say diatonic is different. It's got to change lettering, just like a musical scale does. A something, B something, C something, D something. No matter how you sharp or flat anything, I'm not going to write that whole thing out, but really it means the next letter name for diatonic. And for chromatic, it means same letter name. So for this half step above A, right, the chromatic is going to be A something. Or a half step above A that has to be spelled as A something B. It's going to be A sharp, so there's your chromatic, and your diatonic is going to be the next letter name. So above A, it's going to be some kind of B. What is the half step above A that is B anything? It's B flat. By the way, let's look at where that is here. On my keyboard here, I start with this A, and I'm going to that. In the chromatic spelling, it's an A sharp, and in the diatonic spelling, it's a B flat. And you need both of them at different musical contexts to show this kind of thing. And then these ones, this is all bass clef. Remember to spell well, because where you are on the keyboard matters for where half and whole steps are. Right? This is one thing that this course is meant to do, is get you an awareness of that strange geography and pitch layout in the keyboard. So when I'm going below G sharp by a whole step, okay, I know I'm going to some kind of F, and if I'm starting with a G sharp like this, I know I'm going to that thing there, and the whole step below it, yeah, it could be G flat, but it's usually it's the next letter name for a whole step. 99% of the time it's going to be that. And remember, halves have got to have both the chromatic and the diatonic solutions. And that takes us to the end of our practice quiz assessment that we'll be collecting from you in the end. And we'll average that with some of the homework grades and some other things. And that'll make for the course. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the effort and getting to know you as much as I have. We'll be talking on the phone soon, I know. So best of luck finishing up the course. It's a little bit more work per day than the rest of it. Not too much more, though, hopefully. And hopefully you'll get something good out of this. And I hope to see you guys around at some point. That'll be my my pleasure to do that. All right, take care. Let me know if you have any questions. You know where to find me.